ShopDog says it's time to work on the Pontiac. So, oh, we got our Menards shirt on because we live in Menards territory.
Look at that. All right, today, a couple of things we're doing. This is what we fiberglassed last week for the defrost vents. We're going to make sure that it's all sealed, get this cleaned up, and get it painted so this can go back into the car. And you'll see here it's all hardened up. It's really nice. It's just a matter of cleaning up. Now, the other thing that we're going to work on today, we needed to get an extra set of gauge pods to send off to Dakota so we can get their really nice Dakota digital system. And I found online this Bonneville dash. And we're going to pull out these pods and this Speedo unit. We're going to get those cleaned up because ultimately we're going to gut them and send them in. But we may find that these pods and things are actually pretty nice. But also, we're going to clean up this dash. It's from the Bonneville, which is, again, just the step up from the Catalina, but it's the same dash, with the exception that had this real wood grain on top. We're going to clean this up and see if this is in better shape because the previous owner cut out this bezel piece for the radio and replaced it with something here. This was all kind of cut out on the station wagon before we got it. So we want to see if we can get this cleaned up enough to maybe reuse this and then have down in a console area a real stereo with maybe a backup camera and those kinds of things on there. So those are goals for today. We'll keep you updated during the video.
These projects is trying to find things, trying to store things, because I only have so much room. So they get that corner up there and the corner down there. And then, of course, you know, the whole big shop. To explain what's happening, Kevin has part of that Bonneville right here. And we're trying to decide, is it going to be possible to use that as our entry? Because, God, it'll look really, really nice. And will we be able to use that instead of fiberglassing and building something and still get what he wants, which is a backup camera? So we're going to go take a look in just a second.
All right, so one of the things we did by this console, and this kind of bolts up to the dash, as you saw earlier, and we picked up a backup camera because when you have a 19-foot-long car, it'd be nice to have a backup camera. And we've got a camera for the back as well as the front, and it all goes to the screen. And we want to see how well this is going to work, maybe integrated into this. We're trying to make a decision whether we keep this console. It actually came in kind of broken from the owner that I got it from off of eBay. And we're trying to figure out, can we make this kind of work size-wise? You want to do that?
Now, ashtray's up there. Of course, you don't have that ashtray panel.
So the ashtray is to come out of the ashtray panel, and it would sit in like that. And could you still put your radio down below?
I shot dog.
Yep. Could. Yep, a couple of options there. One of the things that we talked about was having it angled up a bit. So
you can see it?
Yep, so we can see it. And we tested all this out last year, and it all worked. Before the pandemic, and so it just hasn't went in since. But yeah, I think that might fit. Just depends on if we want to keep this set up.
Well, yeah, if you're willing to just use this slot,
And that's,
well, we can make something. I mean,
Yeah.
that's not the
And
end of
then
the
you
world.
can adjust according to
I was
your
going to
light.
say, what if it's just in front of it like this?
The hole that's there.
Yeah, in front of this hole, and we can actually run our cabling out through that hole, you know, and everything. Try to reclaim some of that, and instead of trying to fake like it's integrated, you stick it out, you know, 3/4 of an inch, and make it obvious that it isn't, and then preferably a way to tilt it. You know, it'd be really great if you can tilt it up, down, left, right to the driver or to the passenger. And I think that's all doable.
Yep.
There are articulating mounts that we can. I mean, because this only has a couple. Well, I don't know. There's some movement here. This or something like this can be made to do the job, as long as you're okay with, you know, the look, which obviously we're fine with.
Yep.
And obvious aftermarket things, I say we keep obvious.
Yeah, would agree.
You know, no reason to get crazy there. I'm insisting over here.
Sounds like an air, squeaky air.
It does sound like air. Take that nozzle off. Because we were cleaning up the intake, and beer is important.
Yeah, and if you think about it, if you have a cup holder in the front, you'll be.
Well, that's what I'm wondering is when
Or
we
is the
built-
cup holder to the side?
Yeah, and we have a cup right, a little
change cup.
Change cup here, and our
Sure.
other stuff sits to
On
the
either
side.
side, could do that too. And then the question becomes, do you keep this or do you just fabricate something?
The one upside to that is the beauty of the chrome bezel around on the intake, or on the intake, on the dash. The one downside is you don't have this ashtray cover.
Yeah.
But we could make something that bolted in there, you know, and we have a 3D printer and a laser cutter. I mean, we can come up with something, and maybe we even make that your charge ports.
I like that idea. USB charge port set up
Yeah,
there.
put, you know, 3 or 4 USB A's, maybe a C, and 1 or 2 12 volters with caps.
Yep.
And,
And it makes
and
it really
at that
easy.
angle, it's not as obvious, but it's obviously a modified car. You're not trying to make it look original, especially once you get to the Dakota Dash,
Yep.
and you're just trying to make it fun to use. I think that's actually a viable option.
Think so?
If you can, well, and then you don't even care about the console. You just need part of it to,
We build something here to hold.
well, you take
couple
that,
links and something.
that metal frame and you cut it down to what you need. You use it as the base.
Yep.
Because we are going to have to attach it to the floor somewhere.
Yep. Yep.
So,
It's going to have to sit on something. Agreed. Okay, well, we'll put some more thought into that then.
okay.
All right, here we go.
So that's one of the long-term thoughts. He's been thinking about this for a while. Okay, so while he's putzing here, I just set the GoPro up, and we will see how that works for chipmunk mode instead of using my phone. So, I'm going to turn this off now and let him putz. Okay, checking the progress that Pixie's making. She's getting it apart. And then you heard in the last clip that Bartley's here. We've been playing with the GoPro, trying to make it do what we want it to do, but it'll take some time. Bartley's just over here polishing and cleaning, trying to decide what he wants to do. Oh, that's actually cleaning up pretty good, isn't it?
More and more shiny every time I go over it.
Yeah, and then you can see where, you know, just this top lip, if you want to shine that too, that wouldn't look bad, because that'll be visible against the intake, which we can always set in place.
Okay. Yeah. Well, we'll keep on polishing.
Okay, so now we're kind of showing the people what we're doing here. By locating the plate where it's going to be in the car, we can figure out what our hosing needs to be. They screw through into this plate, you know, that's fine. This was actually the one we were worried about because it's a short line, and it does clear the heater fitting. So that was one of the things we wanted to know. The bottom heater fitting isn't going to be an issue. Unfortunately, the liquid line had to loop out and about. There's just, because they gave it to us as a 90, there's nowhere else for me to put that. I believe they intended for this to be mounted considerably further, like under a wheel well or something where you could never service it. So that'll work. We have plenty of hose yet. Also, they sell it all day. So I didn't need this straight one. That can go back in our bag. And then I think we showed before, you know, how the heater hoses get in and out. So that one will be here. That one will be there. You know, we'll get them angled just right. In fact, we'll probably angle them more like that. And then they'll loop. Oh, let's show the people. They'll loop like this to these two. And they're just worm clamps. It's just 5/8 heater hose. It's getting these indexed the way I want them so that now I can crimp them. So that's the next thing I'm going to do. Okay, now hopefully that's working, you know, having the camera there, but we just did the number 6s. Now we're going to do the number 10s. So would you hold that for a second? Now I just put the number 10 teeth in. We're lined up. We'll go ahead and close that down. let it hold itself for a second. Pop in the pin. Okay, because you can't just use a standard crimper. This is a barrier hose, is what it's called. You know, for air conditioning. And now, we just run the crimper down until she's solid. So it's 6 ways coming in. So not only is it crimping the hose, but it's doing it nice and evenly. And you just go till she stops. You don't have to go crazy after that point. Back her off. Spin her up. Till you're far enough that she'll spin. Look at that. Just like you saw in your factory car. So, make sure she's down. We had her witnessed. We're finding that kind of spinning this down a little early helps. Just to kind of hold it for a second. There we go. Get her lined up. Just like every air conditioning line you've seen on Vintage Air or Classic Auto Air or any of these guys, this is all it is. And if I use it 10 times, I've paid for it.
And this is twice.
No, this is the 4th crimp.
Oh, that's the 4th crimp.
Yeah, when you're paying $20 to $30 a crimp at an AC shop, it doesn't take long to pay for this $300 tool. So, I'll just back her off. Pull the pin. Back off a little more. And then these just pop right out. These little teeth.
And those yellow ones are number 10s.
Yep, number 10s. The purple ones were number 6s. And we have number 8s, which is the red one. And we have number 12s. And they just sell these dies. So we can just buy more dies.
And they're all marked right there. 12, 8. Yeah, look at that.
Okay. Yeah, so at some point we got to dig around in all our stuff, find our O-rings for these two, and when this goes in the car, these will already be installed. So, in fact, this one's going to go on the plate right now. Okay. Jeff's getting in the car. We're going to go ahead and mount this. I used a little bit of forma gasket or gasket cinch, whatever you want to call it, to hold the gasket on, because fighting that would just suck. So we're going to go ahead and place this in, and I'll show you what it looks like when we're done. Okay, Bartley's doing some painting. Kevin's underneath working. He's doing some dynamating. But this is where we're at with this plate. You can see how it's mounted. The only thing I'm not sure about, and I'm probably going to break out some RTV for it, is even when it's all cinched down, even with the gasket, it rides a little rough there. So I don't want water in there, so I think I am going to put some RTV in the back of that. We'll tape it off so we can still paint. And then this is how this is coming out in here. So we've actually got dynamite on the back of that plate. And then, you know, these are the two water lines. They'll probably be something like that. I'll do those in just a little bit. And then you can see where the other two screw in. It's not going to be fun, but we can do it. You can see there's the mounting holes, and then there's one other over there that he just covered back up, but I can uncover it. It's not a big deal.
What did I cover up?
Well, that hole, but don't worry about it. I can poke another awl through it.
We'll take care of that.
So that's what we've been doing. Good old Dynamite. You can't go wrong with it. I really like the Extreme. It definitely is thicker and heavier, but you know, it's not for every application. He also has the blue for door panels and stuff to kind of keep the weight down but still get the sound deadening. But you can see this firewall really cleaned up pretty decent, I think, especially considering it wasn't even part of the original scope of the project. Here's the state of affairs. We now have, and these may or may not actually be the ends we wind up using, but they're what we're using for right now because they're kind of holding it. Because remember, on the Pontiac 389, the return is actually up here on the head, right here, pressed in. So that's probably what we're going to use. You know, so that'll loop up and over. And then this will go over to wherever we put that valve that has to be there, or the AC won't work very well. But we have those on there mostly to give me something to fight against, to get those two on. So now those are on, and they'll still move, no biggie. They're out of the way. And he's finishing up the Dynamat over here. And then we can get the heater box in and see what we think. Let's check and see how Pixie's doing over here.
So, these have gotten polished up. So, looking a little better. They're pretty pitted, but I got a shine back on them. The front bezel part of the chrome looks really good. So, next is the fun of the actual dash.
Yeah, this glue will be fun.
Yeah, it's some type of adhesive remover. Some of it actually came off. And
ooh, what about 3M adhesive remover? I have some up at the house.
oh, that might work.
Yeah, in that can, and it smells really, really bad, or really, really good. I guess it depends on who you are.
Well, I guess it'll be one way to fumigate the garage again.
Yeah, I know. We've already had to lift the door once. It gets thick in here, but at least it's nice out.
Yes, it is.
Well, best laid plans of mice and men. This, unfortunately, once we're in the car, is an issue. So, well, you probably can't see very well. I'll grab a light in just a second. But the angle that we had it at interferes with the vent. So, we've ordered a straight version of this. So, it'll just be a lot easier to install. It'll look a lot nicer. But before we install the defrost vent, we really got to take a look at what we're doing for the floor heat, because that's going to get really hard to get at in just a minute. So give me a second. I'm excited because wait till you see, this is going to work. Okay, so you can see the defroster vents are in. So you can see both of those. We left this one loopy a little long to get to that one because we do still have to attach to those, and there is an electrical connector. This one we've got a decent length, and then we've got these all calculated because you'll never reach those connectors for the floor ones. So we know where these are going to get mounted, but they're not going to get mounted yet. We're also going to modify them a little bit. But we needed to know where this hose was before we installed that. But overall, I don't think we could have done a better job. I don't think any kit out there would have been any better than what we have done so far. Especially since we had to save those. It's the only way it would work with our dash pad. So this is really coming along. I'm pretty happy with where the AC is. Also, look how nice and high up it sits. So it's not even going to be noticeable. So yeah, we're real happy about that.
Almost looks factory.
Almost. Except, you know, it's a little fancier than the original factory. Because AC now is a little fancier than it used to be. So we'll get that other line on there. We ordered a straight one. And yeah, I'm pretty happy with where this is right now. This is looking pretty good. All right. Let's see. Okay, so he's curled those back with the Dremel. And now he's got some primer on them. So those will be the floor vents. He didn't want them shooting straight down. Want the heat kind of emanating. Bartley's also getting ready to paint those black. So that's going to work out pretty slick. Looks like Kevin's cleaning up a little bit. ShopDog is always supervising. I am very, very pleased with how this is coming out in here. That is really coming along nice. Of course, we left the light on, so I'll grab that. So, and the waterproofing is definitely going to work. And then while we've been doing that, Bartley's been in here mocking up the engine. So that's coming along pretty nice. So he's been polishing on these, and I think he's going to paint inside the trick flow in black. You know, kind of the opposite of the valve cover effect. So you can see what that's going to look like. I think it won't look too bad. And then, yeah, ShopDog was supervising that, definitely. He always gets worried.
All right, closeout video on the dash. So this is the dash that came with the car, and Pixie cleaned it up over the last couple of weeks. Got painted, looks really good. Chrome looks really nice. We bought a second dash for a couple of reasons. One, we needed to harvest some gauge pods. These are going to go off to Dakota and get set up in a nice Dakota setup. So we pulled these gauges out here. They'll get cleaned up. They're frankly not as nice as the ones that came here with the car originally. And the dash as well. We like the dashboard. And Pixie did a whole bunch of cleaning here. This came from a Bonneville. And you can see here the Bonneville logo.
Played for sale for only $100.
There you go. And the Bonnevilles had a wood grain. It was real wood that was glued on here. And you can see where that glue from the factory was. So in the end game, we wanted to look at this dash to see if the pitting was any worse. Number one. Number two, wanted to see if we could use it because this was original. This one has been cut out. And thirdly, just see if it was a better match for what we needed. In the end game, probably isn't, so it'll probably go for sale. But the cool thing that Bonneville's had is they had a special speaker setup, and this the speaker selection switch came here through the dash, and Pixie got off and cleaned it up. And ultimately, you know, we might repurpose this switch for something else.
But don't tell people what it's for. That defeats the whole purpose.
Yeah, it might be a super secret switch. The other thing that we found as well on the Bonnevilles,
And that's just these two holes here.
the Bonnevilles were pre-drilled here in the bottom for a grab handle. And when we look at this one here for the Catalina, it's got the
yeah,
bosses.
they're right there. You could drill right through.
So we may end up drilling through that and finding an original grab handle for the dash on that as well. They're out there.
Always nice to have.
I've seen them used. We'll see if we can find it. So that's where we sit on Sunday.
Okay. What's your opinion of the AC stuff?
Hang on, before you go there, one of the things we did do over the last week, we brought them back, is we cleaned up the gauge pods that'll go in the dash that we use, and this is all re-cleaned, painted. These gauges should all work. These will fit here in the pod. These are all ready to go. So for at least what we're going to put back in the car, I think we're ready to go with it. Just reassembly. We've got new knobs and everything for it, so it should look pretty nice. Now, as for the AC, boy, that AC turned out really nice. And I'll tell you, when you think about it, the block-off plate, you know, $89 or whatever that was, plus $3 shipping, I think that was well worth it. And I think when you get it,
That'd have been 2 days of dicking around welding.
we could have cut something, could have messed with it. And I think when you get inside and you look at how that AC is coming together with the defroster, and that's all the stuff that we worked on today, I think that turned out really nice. So a lot of progress today.
Yeah, no, almost everything on your list.
What did I miss on my list?
I don't know. You always have too much on the list.
I probably had something on the list I missed.
No, so we did order that fitting. When that gets in, we'll get a much more relaxed hose. We could get that 90-degree fitting in there. It would just always be under a little tension, and I don't think that that's what we want on a high-pressure line. So we went ahead and ordered a straight one. That's why that is still out. Yeah, I think ShopDog thinks that this was a pretty productive day. So thanks for watching.